Hi everybody, welcome to Sprague Woodturning. My name is Jim. This week we're going to do a Polkadot inspired bowl. That's what this is going to be. And we're going to use this piece of walnut, and it may not be this one. We're going to trim this up and see if it fits. I need this to fit inside of a plastic bucket, if you will, a container. So it's got to fit pretty closely, but this is the one we're going to start with. This is, I should mention that this is black walnut, and there's a little knot in there, so when we go to drill this piece out, I'll try and get rid of that. But people wonder where I get my inspiration from, and my wife and I were in Jamaica last year, and she came across a bowl that was all kind of polka dotty and it looked really cool. So that's kind of where this inspiration comes from. But I'm going to bling it up with some copper pipe because that's kind of who I am. And anyway, I will explain the process as we go. But if I can't get this bowl to fit properly inside of the plastic bowl I'm going to use, then we're going to have to find something else. But so far, this looks like the best candidate. All right, so let's get this trimmed up and we'll go from there. First off, I'd like to welcome you to this week's video, and this is the 105,000 subscriber giveaway. And along with that, we're going to be giving away a 3-gallon kit from Designer Epoxy. So thanks again for Designer Epoxy for them doing that. We really do appreciate it. You'll notice that in the thumbnail, I didn't put anything about a giveaway or in the title in the description, because when that happens, we tend to get a lot of scams, so that's why I didn't do it this week. Along with that, the way that this usually works is they will reply to your comment and say, congratulations, you won the bowl, and they'll leave a number there for you to call to cover the shipping. Again, if you win, I ship worldwide at my expense. I will never ask you for any money if you are the winner. So if that happens, there are 3 dots to the right of their comment. Click on that and report it as spam, and YouTube will take that comment down. Thanks. There, I think once the tenon is removed from this, it'll sit further down and fit fairly close in the bowl. Regardless, it's going to be very hard to get a perfect shape to do this, so I guess we will stick with this one. There, now that we have the public service announcements out of the way, let's talk about this week's project. So far, I've used the Ellsworth gouge to trim this bowl up. And like I said, it was really important for it to fit in there, so I wasn't too sure if this was going to work. So I had to take it out of the chuck to see how it fit. And then now I'm just trimming it up again to the right size, the right thickness that I'm looking for. In an effort to control resin staining, I thought that I would give this spray lacquer a shot, and we'll see how that performs later on. Once that was done, I wanted to actually rough up the inside of the copper pipe. So all I did was just take a small little dowel, cut a slot in it, and then that way I can use the drill and go in and out of the pipe to rough it up. It's important that you rough up any metal surfaces if you intend on using any epoxy, and that's certainly what we're going to be doing here. If you don't do this, you run the risk of basically that piece of metal separating from the resin. And there you go. It's exactly what you want. Don't forget to blow the pipes out. You don't want any foreign material in the resin, especially if it's sand. Sand is hard on your tools, sand from the sandpaper. And just a little bit of duct tape on the bottom of these should be good enough. That should work. Let's get some resin mixed up. So we can move forward with the project tomorrow. I'm going to be using ArtCast. ArtCast is a 1-to-1 resin. And unlike the 2-to-1s, Deep Cast and the Pro Series, it can be a little thicker. So if you're having issues mixing it, warm up some water, place the cup in the water while you're mixing, and you'll find you won't have any issues mixing it that way. Or you can warm your jugs up in a vat of warm water if you wish. And along with that, we're going to be using some blood red to go on the inside of our copper pipes. All right, we're getting ready to do the pour here. I don't know if this is going to be enough. I'm going to assume that it is. There is a way of calculating this, but well, you know, math isn't exactly my strong suit. So we'll just see how this goes. Hopefully I don't have any issues getting this in here. Yep. Yeah, we're definitely going to have enough. Twice in a row. Yeah. All right, so what I'm going to do with these is throw them in the pressure pot right now, and they'll be ready to use tomorrow. Let's drill the holes on our bowl. All right, so I'm going to drill two size holes. One hole is going to be, or one size is going to be 1 1/4 inch, and the other one is going to be 3/4 of an inch. The idea being that this is the one that we're going to put the copper pipe in, and this one we're not. We're just going to leave it natural, and it'll fill with the resin that we're going to use to hold those pieces in place. Now, this doesn't go through exactly straight-ish. Even though these two Forstner bits are actually new, drilling walnut, especially on the end grain, is not fun at all. I'll let you know right now, for those who have never tried it. Walnut is quite a hard wood. You'll see me eventually switch to the corded drill because I just needed more speed and power instead of using the Milwaukee battery powered drill. Anyway, I cut a ton of footage out of here. The smaller one is a little easier to use than the large one that I'm using here that I want to put the copper pipes in. And some may say, well, why didn't you take this over and use it on the drill press? And my counter to that is, with a curved shape like this, it would be very difficult to try and jig that up so that you're basically able to drill through straight. So anyway, I wanted some in the very base here, and I didn't want to go all the way through because I was worried about hitting the jaws of the chuck. And anyway, eventually you'll see me switch out to the smaller bit. Here it is right now. And that one certainly was a lot easier to use, but when I first started drilling with the larger bit, I was like, oh man, this is going to take a while. I should have actually looked at the clock to see how long it took for me to do this. It was a little while anyway. But eventually we get the job done and we're able to move forward with this. That's a Typhoon bit. I get that from Lee Valley. Lee Valley has a whole extensive line of different Typhoon bits. I really like this one. It does a really good job too. And it's seen a fair bit of abuse. What did I do to clean that? I think I used some denatured alcohol. Just sat it in it and it cleaned up any pitch, anything that was embedded in it, and it works a lot better since doing that. The last thing I want to do here before we do any casting with this piece is grind off the foot so that it sits down in our plastic bowl. Perfect. So here is the bowl that we're going to use for casting here. And that, now the bottom is, or the tendons ground off it, is almost a perfect fit. Little space around the outside for the resin to flow around it. So, you know, I'm really pleased with the way this fits. And this was one of the restraints that I had, was trying to find a bowl in a plastic bowl that would go well together, and this one does. Anyway, that's all we can do today. The one thing that I did do was drill through these ones here, so that I was really worried about the Forstner bit hitting the jaws, so that's why I didn't want to drill all the way through. Anyway, that's all we can do today. See you tomorrow. Good news, finally got my electric heater hooked up, so I've got heat back in the workshop. That way I'll be able to do some resin finishes if I want to. But anyway, LED lights in your workshop are the only way to go. These are extremely bright. In the next workshop, I'm gonna make it maybe even twice as much light as you see here. So that way it'll be good for filming. But so far I like that heater. It comes with a remote, and I'll be able to do some resin finishes or epoxy finishes. All right, let's get back to this and get some resin poured. Here I'm just using the Sawzall to cut these pieces off with a metal blade. I do have a carbide blade that I could put on my bandsaw if I wish to cut these, but I decided this was just faster to do. And there's two lengths of these, and I'll explain that here in a second. But anyway, once we get this cut off, we'll be able to glue the bowl in place. And this is important because I don't want this bowl to move around when we're gluing in the copper pipes. While I'm waiting for this glue to set up, I'm just going to take a file and get rid of any of these burrs that are on here. Okay, so I don't know how much of this you guys are going to see. I've got some short ones and I've got some long ones. The short ones are going to go around the upper part here, and the longer ones, because the bucket is, or sorry, the plastic bowl is pulled away from the side a little bit. But the goal is to basically glue them in the center of these large openings. We'll see how that goes. Something like that. There you go. I realize it doesn't look like much now. And what I'm going to do is use this on the inside of it, because it's pretty close to being perfect. Would like to see a little bit taller. And we'll get Dwayne. Dwayne's too big. There we go. That'll work just fine. All right, let's mix up some resin. For this pour, we're going to be using Art Cast again from Designer Epoxy. If I was a board maker, I would definitely be using Art Cast in my boards. You know, it just literally overnight, the next day, you can get right back at it and carry on with your project. And we're also going to be using some turquoise in this pour. And I believe the issue, you'll see later on that a lot of the footage looks green, and I believe that's because this turquoise is overlaid in that dark walnut, giving that effect. All right, I got the bowl leveled and sitting in the pressure pot, so we'll do the pour in there. So for those who have not seen my clean room, this is it. It's actually not clean. Those are my two pressure pots. There's one underneath here. And whenever I'm talking about the clean room, this is the clean room. I'm bringing stuff in here so the finishes to cure and for the resin to cure as well. Okay, I'm really hoping this is going to be enough, and this is not going to be easy to pour, I don't think. Well, how about that? Pretty much the almost perfect amount. Would like to see a little bit higher because I know that we're going to lose some of this to the wood, but oh, so close. Yeah, I'm going to mix up just a little bit more. All right, so if it uses all this, this will bring the pour to 1.2 liters. All right, well, that's a liter. I'm going to pressurize this very slowly, and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, how's everybody doing? It is 2 days later, and the reason why it's 2 days later is because when I opened it up yesterday, the level had dropped below the top, the very top holes that I'd drilled. So I had to do another pour, and hopefully it matches so that it's not really going to stick out all that much. But we won't know until we get this out. So let's do that. Well, that was fairly easy. There you can see the line for the two pours. Really didn't look like, actually, you know what? That's good. I don't think that it's going to matter at all. Just when I initially looked at it, I thought it was going to be an issue. Great. All right. Oh, still got to get this out, don't I? People ask me why I don't want to do multiple pours, and that's the reason. If you're doing a multiple pour, that was in the center of one of those openings, you're probably definitely going to see it. Not really such a big problem with a project like this, but if you have a large resin area, it's going to be very noticeable. So that's why I don't like doing two pours. Well, it looks cool. All right, we got to get a glue block on the bottom of this, and then we'll get it on the lathe. Sticking with the theme that when things don't go right, I'll leave them in the video, and this is one of them. Now, you've seen me use this method a number of times where I just drill a small little hole. Then once I've got the bottom of this kind of ground off and ready for the hot melt glue, I'll bring over my waste block that's mounted on a faceplate. I'll drive the awl through it and essentially put the awl in the little hole, and that's it. This should work. And I put it on the lathe, and it is way off. I'm not exactly sure. I could have swore that when I was using the center finder that it, wasn't really that far off. And I probably could have left this, but the bowl was probably going to be too thin for my liking. So the decision is to cut this off. So clean off the hot melt glue and then use the parting tool to break it off. And then we'll mount it onto the coal jaws. And this is the proper way to do it. Bring up tailstock support, clean off the bottom, flatten it, and then you can put your glue block on from here. This is the tried and true way of making sure that your waste blocks go on the bottom of these pieces and they're relatively centered before you start finishing them. Like I said, the thickness was probably there, but I just didn't want to risk it. And I didn't want this thing to be really thin either because, this epoxy is holding in these metal pieces, and I certainly do not want them to fall out. So you need some thickness in order for that to happen. Anyway, this is the proper way. As you can tell, that is so much better than it was before. So this will make things a lot easier to turn away as well. And, the other thing too, with that being off as far as it was last time, cutting down this copper pipe would have been much harder than, say, having it balanced like it is here. A lot of people have been contacting me or asking me in the comments about RPM. People, don't get caught up in RPM. The way that I basically figure out my RPM is I put the piece on the lathe, I turn up the lathe speed till it vibrates, and then back it off until it stops. And that's the speed that I turn at. Now, as you thin a piece out or you get it into balance, then of course maybe you can pick those speeds up. But you know, the thing is, resin typically likes to be turned at, say, 1,000 to 1,200 RPM. But last week's project, I think I did it all at 470 RPM or 475. That's just because it was so out of balance with a big resin piece on one side and burl on the other. But you know, I see it all the time. People getting caught up with, oh, what RPM should I be using? And you know, that's kind of my response to it. Now I have the luxury of having an electronic variable speed lathe, and I know that a lot of people don't. They have the step pulley set up, and I had the step pulley set up for a long time as well. Like I did I don't know, thousands of bowls on a old Henry Taylor Tool 4-step pulley lathe. And you know, basically what I would do back then was I would put it on the lower setting, and you know, if that was good enough, then I didn't fool it too much. But if I wanted more speed, I would put it on the higher setting, and I would basically loosen the belt a little bit so that it would slip. That's basically what I would do. And after a while, when you got the piece screwed up a little better, then you'd be able to lock down the tension on the belt and then carry on as per normal. So it's really shocking to me how green this looks, even though it's not. So there's our first real look on the outside of this anyway as to what it's going to look like. And you know, I'm really digging it. It's really cool. The spacing right there on that is it's not doing my OCD, even though I didn't think I was OCD. It's not doing it any favors, that's for sure. Bothers me, but it doesn't really bother me too much, I guess. Anyway, you'll see that when I glued one of those copper pipes in place, that there was too much glue. So if you're going to use this method, try to use the least amount of glue that you can get away with, and then that way you won't have any issues like this. It wasn't really that big of an issue. And you know, it just amazes me how green this is until you strip it away, where the resin's sitting by itself, and then it comes back to its blue color. And you know, it never even dawned on me when I was turning this that was an issue. When I was sitting here editing a couple days ago, and I looked at it and said, I don't remember pouring green, and I was like, oh, it's because it's overlaying that dark wood, so that's really throws the color off. Since we've got this metal now in this bowl, and of course the epoxy, I'm using the Hercules. I should have mentioned that earlier. This is the number 3 from Hunter Tool Systems, and it did a really good job cutting that copper clean. I didn't rotate the cutter while using this. So this is 2 weeks in a row that I've used the same cutter. And I don't know if you could cut this copper pipe cleanly with a gouge. If you did, you would probably be doing a ton of sharpening. So again, this is where carbide tools will always beat high-speed steel. And I don't care what high-speed steel it is. It will never cut the same way that carbide would cut in this configuration. I should also mention that yes, I'm not wearing a glove, and not that I'm against wearing gloves because I do it all the time. I never thought to put one on. At no time did I ever have anything embed in my skin. It's probably a good idea to wear either a long sleeve shirt or a coat and a glove while doing this. That way you don't have any issues with metal bits being embedded in your hand or your arms. But I never had any issues with it. Every now and then, metal piece of that copper would land on the back of my hand, and it was warm. It wasn't anything that would burn you. But other than that, I didn't really see the need to wear one, or else I would have put one on. Trust me, if I was having some of the stuff being embedded in my hand, I definitely would have wore a glove. That top plastic bowl, the bottom is indented, so it left a fair bit of resin on the very top of the actual bowl that we're working on. So once that was all whittled down, it was clear sailing from there. I like to leave those real-time clips in when I can. Due to the video length of this, we should be okay. Although I still got some editing to do, so it might end up being a long one as well. But, you know, a lot of people, you know, it's funny, I'll show these pictures or these videos to my wife, and she goes, I can't believe you're going that slow. And I'm like, well, yeah. If you want to cut the surface clean on a lot of stuff, especially stuff that's got copper pipe in it, then you've got to really kind of go really slow. Now it's 1,000 RPM at the spindle, but of course, due to the fact that the diameter of this bowl, the further you move away from the spindle, the faster the surface speed of the wood is. And getting back to speeds that I turn at, you know, I typically, when I'm making bowls, don't ever go above 1,200. Like I just don't really see the need for it. The smaller work, if you're doing bottle stoppers, you know, pepper mills, you know, you can theoretically turn them at 3,000 RPM because they're smaller in diameter. So, you know, the larger the pieces in diameter, the more risk there is, the higher the speed that you want to turn at. And this piece in particular is not going to vibrate, but if you're turning at high speeds and you're turning something that's quite thin, it can start vibrating, and then you can get yourself into a really devastating catch. And I know that most of us have probably been there. So I'm aiming for about a ½ inch wall thickness throughout the piece, and it's still a little thick in the very bottom and the belly of the bowl right now. So I'm going to trim that up. And, you know, a lot of people want to see me make thinner turnings, and when it comes to projects like this, ½ inch is where I'm comfortable. I could go thinner, but I just don't see the point. I really don't. Okay, I'm about to turn away some of this, and I'm going to show you why. this is where the hot melt glue was holding the bowl into the plastic bowl. I really like this resin ring on the top, and I definitely want to keep it. Along with that, you can see how the glue prevented any resin staining. So much for the spray lacquer that I put on there. But anyway, it's throughout the piece. So I could fill this with the UV resin, but I want to try and eliminate this if I can. So I'm going to turn it away. We'll just close in a little bit on this and this should be fine. This right here, we will have to use some UV resin on after I get this done. The safest way to preserve this resin, as you seen in that previous clip, I'm going really slow and I'm going from the top to the base. If you go in the other direction from the base to the top, as you exit the wood on the top, there's a chance that maybe that epoxy could chip off. So it's always safer to do it that way. And now I'm just doing some shear cuts, and if you look at the Hercules, it's held at 45 and 45, and this is the best way to do shear cuts with the Hercules. Anyway, we'll fill with some UV resin, and we'll be able to trim that up and sand it. All right, to fill in this little hole, we're going to be using some UV resin here from Designer Epoxy. Very, very cool resin. It has really helped move my projects along, so that's one of the big bonuses. I'm not going to tint this because this is such a small amount. It would be very hard to tint and get the tint correctly, so we'll just do clear it, and you know, it really won't even show up in the finished piece. So that's all that needs. And then of course, to cure it, this is a UV light, and once that's done, we'll be able to trim this up and start sanding. Usually 2 to 3 minutes is what I like to hold on here. Now that the UV resin has cured, we're just going to take some very light shear cuts like I did before. And once that's done, we'll be able to move on to sanding. And there you go. That's cut very cleanly. All of that resin staining has been removed, or it all looks the same. These are the 3.5-inch nipple discs from sandpaper.ca, and I will remind you that there is a link in the description to get 10% off your next order. And for those people in the USA, they do ship there as well. Now this was sanded from 60 to 800, and when I initially start sanding, the lathe is going forward, the drill is in reverse. And then once I've got the outside of this sanded, then I'll be able to change the lathe direction and change the drill direction. And I do find that that is the most effective way to sand either just straight wood bowls or, you know, these resin pieces as well. So there is the 80 grit going on, the next grit. And now the lathe is in reverse and the drill is forward. And I just keep repeating that all the way to 800. And then we'll be able to move on to buffing. That's the Triple E buffing compound from the Be All buffing system. And that's spelled Triple E as in the city of Tripoli, not 3 E's, which a lot of people think it is. Once that's done, we'll be able to clean this piece up with some denatured alcohol. And that's why you need to clean your pieces. And we'll get our first coat of finish on. Here comes the best part. First coat of Waterlux gloss. Well, what do you think? I think that it's pretty cool. I'm actually very pleased with it. Only a couple of these, I wish they were centered better. It's kind of messing with me, but I think that it's actually really cool. I must say that the resin has really darkened this up. Again, so much for that lacquer I put on there. I actually really like the resin on the top of this. It just ties it all in. I really groove in this piece. Let me know in the comments what you think. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow for the second coat. As I do between all coats of Waterlux, we're going to buff the surface of the bowl here. Make sure you lock your bowl on, because that would almost come off because the lathe is in reverse and the drill is forward. Anyway, once that's done, we will again clean it with the denatured alcohol and get on with the next coat finish. Good morning, this is the second coat of Waterlux Gloss. There it is in the second coat. I like it. I actually like it more than I thought I would. Should be interesting when it's lit up at the end. Looking through it this way, it's definitely translucent. And I'm really happy with that resin ring that I left on the top of this. All right, well, if there is a third coat, maybe, there might be a third coat. Anyway, I will do it the same as this coat, and we'll see you when we're doing the bottom. The reason that it needed 3 coats is actually because there seemed to be like a little bit of lint or possibly cat hair in the finish the next day when I was looking at it, so it needed another coat. Other than that, it was good. This is on the vacuum chuck. Things went all blurry on me, so I kind of cut the footage a little short on it. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Now we need to pick a name for this beautiful bowl, and of course the 3-gallon kit from Designer Epoxy. Good luck, everyone. What you're looking at are the names that the YouTube comment picker has selected for each of the videos since the last giveaway at 100,000. I have excluded the unboxing of my play button video. But anyway, these are the names. On this side, this is for the epoxy giveaway. On this side, that's for the bowl giveaway. Let's gather these names up and start picking winners. All right, here are all the names for the epoxy draw. I thought that I would put a little bend in them. I think they mix up a little better that way. So there's all the names in for that. And the winner of the 3-gallon kit from Designer Epoxy is right here. Which I'm assuming is Reverend Ruby. You are the winner of the 3-gallon kit from Designer Epoxy. Please send me an email, spraguewoodturning@gmail.com, and I will forward your details on to Designer Epoxy, and we'll get your 3-gallon kit mailed out to you. Congratulations. Let's draw for the bowl. Well, all right, there's all the names for the bowl giveaway. And the winner of the 105,000 subscriber giveaway bowl is right here. And that is Charlene Taylor. Taylor. You are the winner of the 105,000 subscriber giveaway. Congratulations. Same with you. Please send your email, or sorry, your address to spraguewoodturning@gmail.com. And if you're not in Canada, I'll also need a phone number for the customs form. Congratulations. Let's talk about the bowl. Now, I shouldn't be surprised by this, but I am how it throws off. Now, looking at the camera here, it looks blue, but it really depends on how you hold it. Sometimes when you look down on it, it looks green, and that's of course just because of the dark brown underneath of it. I should mention, or give you some sizes. I'll put the metric conversion up on the screen, but it's 8 3/4 across, 4 inches tall, and like I said in the video, about 1/2 inch in thickness. Really like this concept. We may see more of this in the future, maybe in a hollow form or something like that. It is quite translucent. So when I put the third coat on it, and I don't know how I missed this, right in the very base, there's a little run. And I don't know what happened there. I don't know if I dropped some finish in there as I took it off. I don't know. So anyway, I'll have to put another coat of finish on there and flatten that, but that's no big deal at all. Here is the very bottom. It's going to be very hard to read, but hopefully you can pick that up. And for a change, the bottom's actually done. That typically doesn't happen in these videos, but I had a little bit extra time this week, so I was able to get that done, except for that down there. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about this piece. I really think that it's kind of a neat concept, and if you've got a bowl that's full of knots, you can just drill those knots out and do something like this. And it never really dawned on me, but after looking at it, it kind of looks like maybe an insect's eye, like a spider's eye or something like that. I really like it, and hopefully she does as well. Don't forget to put designer epoxy in the comments down below to be entered into the next 3-gallon giveaway at 110,000 when we get there. And of course, by leaving a comment down below, you'll also be entered into my giveaways as well. Along with designer epoxy, don't forget about their promotion they have on my channel right now. 5 free color bags, free shipping within continental USA and Canada, and of course 10% off your order. It's a win-win-win if you follow them. So please check them out, and of course all my other sponsors down in the description. Your links are down there, including the Amazon links and other links to other products you see me use here in the workshop. So please head on down there and check those out as well. And special thanks to people that have sent me super chats and super thanks. That's really awesome. Thank you so much. And if you're not aware of it, my videos go live at 9 a.m. Eastern on Friday, and there's a live chat in there, so I'll be there chatting with people in the live chat. So if you've got some time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, please pop in and watch the video, and you'll be able to chat with me via the live chat. Next week is going to be a bowl explosion, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Anyway, take care, stay safe, don't forget the bell. Please share my videos with your friends. That is the largest way for me to build my presence here on YouTube. And just remember that you guys are really awesome, and we'll see you next week.